Let's see if you can stop sharing. I'll start sharing my screen. Thank you. Awesome. Okay. So here we go. All right. So getting what you want. So thank you everyone for being here on a Friday evening. I know that you could be doing other things, so I appreciate that you're all here. And I want to make sure that this is going to be worth your time. So I have a very content-packed presentation for you, and I think you will enjoy it. And I think you'll get a lot out of it. For those of you who are in Japan, this is more like communicating in America. So it's a little bit of different, right? Culturally, it's very different in Japan. So if you do have negotiations or communications with Americans, this is a really good guideline to follow. Okay, so about 2002, I was laid off, and then I negotiated to get my job back. But not only did I get my job back, I negotiated to work from home. So this is basically the story of how I managed to do that. I was working for a company as a graphic designer, and they laid off everyone in the California department, and they were going to rehire everyone in Pennsylvania. And at that time, I was doing graphic design for a remote client, and so so I thought, hey, maybe it's a great idea if they just kept me on, and I could continue to do all the work and from home. So I went to the new boss and I asked her, hey, what do you think about the fact that I can continue working for you guys? I can work from home, and the client already knows me, and I gave her all of the pros for keeping me on board. And she said no. So then I went and talked to her boss, the VP of marketing, and I said the same thing to him. I pitched him my idea, and I said, don't you think it'd be a good idea? It's seamless. I already know the client. He's already remote. Wouldn't it be great? And he said, yes, I think it's a great idea. I'm going to still leave the vice president, and don't you think that this would be a really good idea? And she said, absolutely, I'm going to go and vouch for you. So she went and talked to the new potential boss and said, I really think that this is a really great idea, what Alice is talking about, and I know her, she does really good work, and she has really good work ethics. And the answer was again, no. So finally, I was complaining to the client, and the client was like, I think it's a great idea for you to continue working with us and doing the graphic design for us and working from home. So let me pitch it to your potential new boss. She really didn't want to do it, but at that time, she finally gave in a little bit, and she said, fine, I will give you 3 months for a trial period. Instead of being overjoyed and excited, I was actually quite upset that I only got 3 months. I was like, wow, I can't believe it. That's just nothing, right? 3 months goes by really quickly. The client just told me, you know what, Alice, just relax. Be glad that we got 3 months. 3 months is better than nothing. Well, those 3 months turned into an 8-year-long career where I worked part-time from home while I was raising my small children. So it was perseverance and it was communication that got what I want. And so today I'm going to talk about a lot of the different strategies that you can use to get what you want when you're negotiating. Now, one of the really interesting is that they negotiate differently, and they also negotiate at different times, meaning sometimes men will negotiate something and women will not. Men negotiate 4 times more than women. Linda Babcock did a study about this, and what she learned was that women are treated in the home when they are girls, they're given chores to do that's for the greater good, right? For the family. So they might set the table, or they might wash the dishes, or help fold clothes. So these types of chores aren't attached to money because they're smaller chores. You have to do them on a regular basis. And so they get used to doing things for the good of everyone. Boys, however, grow up being given larger chores. They're asked to mow the lawn. They may be asked to trim the hedges, right? And these larger jobs come with pay. And so boys are used to getting paid for the things that they do. And in their mindset, as they grow up, they're learning, I have value. The things that I do, I should charge for. So as they become teenagers, they can go out in the neighborhood and they can for a certain amount of money. Can write with years of experience by the time they go do not experience by the time they're 18. So a 20-year-old woman get a $25,000 job offer as their very first offer. The woman says, great, I'll take it. I don't have any other experience. I'm super thrilled. Someone's paying me some money. And so she will accept it. The man negotiates and he gets $30,000. So he already has $5,000 more starting gate, right? And so if you imagine that $1,000 every year, and he's got 5,000 more, but on top of that, imagine that they're getting raised there. You can imagine the gap that begins to grow when you have a 3% growth, and one starts at 25,000 and the other starts at 30,000. So over the course of their lifetime, of their careers, if you take this example, you will notice that there's a difference of $784,192. This is $750,000 more that a man makes because he's negotiating. Okay, take that in, that number, $784,192. Okay, so one of the first things that I want to talk about when you're about to negotiate, you want to prepare. You want to be prepared with whatever it is that you're going to be talking about. Okay, so if you're going to be talking to a neighbor, or you're talking to your friend, or you're talking to a soon-to-be ex-spouse, you still want to prepare. And so one of the things that you want to think about is you want to think about what is your best alternative to a negotiated agreement. It's called a BATNA, but a best alternative to a negotiated agreement means what would happen if you don't have an agreement? What's the best thing that could happen if you do not come to an agreement? And you also want to think about what is the best alternative for the other side. So you really have to like research, study their mind, think about it. Sometimes you'll be able to ask them questions. So I'll get into that a little bit more, but you want to find out what the other side, what they have at stake. And you want to be prepared about what do you want out of the negotiation, right? Whatever it is. If you are going to buy a car and the owner is saying, I'm selling it, it's $5,000. What do you want? You want to buy it at $5,000? You have to know ahead of time what you want, okay? You also have to think about the worst alternative to negotiated agreement. So what is the worst thing that will happen to you if you do not come to a settlement agreement? In the case of the car, the worst thing that could happen, you don't buy the car, you keep driving your car, or maybe the worst thing is you keep taking the bus because you don't have a car to begin with. Okay, what's the worst thing and the best thing? And then you also want to make sure that when you're going into the negotiations, you're talking with the person who has authority. There's nothing worse than talking to someone and you negotiate and talk, you come to agreement, and then they say, oh yeah, I don't have any authority after like 2 hours of negotiating. And they say, I have to go ask my boss, or I have to insurance agent. Recently, I had mediation in a court, and it was in small claims, and a woman was having a mediation with another guy who was asking for money for some damages in the home. Well, it turns out that the woman had no authority whatsoever because there was an insurance agent that was involved. And so because I found out that she had no authority, I told her, you need to call the insurance agent immediately, and they need to be in the mediation. We cannot have this mediation without that insurance agent. So she called the insurance agent, and they came in, and we began a negotiation between the guy and the insurance agent. The woman was just there, but she didn't have much to say, because even though the claim was against her, she's not the person that tells how much money she can pay out. The insurance agent is. So you always have to make sure the person with the final decision-making authority is there at the talk with you. So some of the things that you want to think about, this is just a whole long list. I'm not going to talk about all of them, but I just wanted to show you some questions that are questions you might think of when you're trying to prepare. Like for example, when you're buying something, what is your reservation price? Meaning the highest you're going to pay. You know, before you go in, you want to say, I'm not going to pay any more than this much. Or if you're selling it, the lowest you're going to accept, right? You need to know that before you go into negotiations. What does the ideal deal look like to you? So these are really good things to think about. A lot of different communication you aired for reactions, right? What happens if you say, I'm going to sell this car for $6,000? And they say, sure, I'll take it, right? Then you have to be prepared with a response for that. Okay. What is your opening move or your initial strategies? What are some of the problems you might face? How can you avoid them? Yeah. What is your opponent's back before you actually start talking to someone? Keep that in mind. Want what you want. And in cases you do that because you cost, I might say to Sophie, a pre-meeting where boss, and I'm thinking about asking for a raise. Instead of going in and saying, I want to talk about a raise, I'll say, Sophie, just curious, want to know how you think I'm doing, what some feedback you can give, where can I improve, you know, where do you see me going, my trajectory at this company, and I should get a lot of information from those questions.
Hey, Alice.
Okay. Why?
Alice,
Yeah.
can you hear me? I think your Wi-Fi is a little bit choppy, so maybe you can turn off the video. Maybe that helps.
Okay. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Let's make sure. Okay. Has it been like that the whole time or just now?
It's been like that on and off.
Sorry, I'm not sure why. Okay. So I'm going to continue. Can you hear me okay now?
It's still choppy.
Really?
I mean, I hear you. I think everybody hears her, but so
Okay.
maybe you can turn off your video camera.
Okay.
And
How's
that may
that?
be
Can
helpful.
you hear me any better?
Yeah, I can hear you better.
Okay.
I don't know. Like, is everyone okay with her?
Can you guys hear?
Okay. Yeah. All right. Continue. Thank you, Alice.
Okay. All right. So yeah, so you want to find out what it is that the other person wants, and you want to ask a lot of questions, meeting them ahead of time, and then you want to ask a lot of questions. Okay. And then here are some strategies that you might want to employ when you're trying to negotiate with somebody. Is you want to ask really easy questions at first. All right. So like, so why are you selling this? Or, you know, is there a timeline involved? How important is it? If someone's selling their house, you can ask questions about why they're selling their house, ask them how long they lived there, ask them why they're moving, just really get to know them, right? Make it like chit chat, make it really normal. You don't want to ask any difficult questions. Ask really easy, comfortable, chatty questions, because what you're doing by asking these questions, you're not chatting with them, you're getting information, okay? You're basically mining them for information. You want to make sure you talk about money last. Then you want to find out all the different creative solutions first. So most people, when they're talking and they're trying to get what they want, they wait until the very end. And then when they're stuck and they can't negotiate any further, then they start coming up with ideas like, okay, well, maybe we do this or maybe we do that. You don't want to do that at the end. You want to do that at the very beginning. Think about different ideas that will make a creative deal, okay? And then you want to think about what is cheap to you but valuable to them. And you might want to have examples, right? Like, for example, maybe you're buying a home and there's a tree in the front yard, and that tree is really valuable to them because she planted it with her small children like 20 years ago, and now the tree has grown up. And so maybe she doesn't want you to cut the tree down. So for her, the tree is very, very valuable. And for you, the tree, keeping the tree up is no big deal. So you can throw that in as something that you're giving something to them that's very valuable, but it's very inexpensive to you. Same thing in reverse, right? If there's something that's valuable to me, but cheap to the other side, for example, if you're negotiating a job offer, you might ask them, like, any chance I can get a free gym membership? Perhaps it's like super cheap for them because they're purchasing these in bulk, but it maybe will be a big deal for you because you're saving yourself $100 every month, right? Or you can say, like, how about a free phone? Or how about you pay for my phone bill every month, right? Anything like that. It could be cheap to the company, but very valuable to you. So you want to think about all the things that you can exchange back and forth. You guys hear me okay still, Sophie? Okay. Also, you want to find out where they are inflexible or what the non-negotiables are, because if you find out where they are inflexible, guess what? You know where they're flexible. You don't want to ask someone, where are you flexible? Because then you're asking them to show us their vulnerable side, right? And people don't want to do that. They don't want to do that. So you want to say, hey, what are the non-negotiables? And people will be very comfortable telling you, okay, your salary is non-negotiable. Okay, I'm not going to talk about it. We're not negotiating about it. Like, leave that alone. Great. Now you know you can negotiate everything else. You can negotiate vacation time. You can negotiate sick leave. You can negotiate retirement plan. There's so many different things that you can negotiate. Once they tell you, don't touch these things because these things are non-negotiable, I am not flexible on this, okay? So that's how you find out, by asking them, where are you inflexible? Another really good strategy is to come with 2 equivalent offers. So you want to give them 2 offers. Both of those offers should be totally okay for you. You should be comfortable saying, either one you take, I'm okay with that. Okay, so when you say that, it gives them a couple of choices and they feel like they have a choice. For you, you're like, I don't care, whichever one they pick is fine because they're both good to me. So you might want to consider, when you're making offers, to give 2 offers. Okay, so one might be better for them than the other, and since you don't care, it doesn't matter. So that's another very good strategy. Another strategy is anchoring, and anchoring means you're the first one to lay down a number. If you're talking about pricing, right? So if you go and they say, make me the best offer. And some people are like, well, I don't really know. Like, how much do you want for this? And people are kind of lying for you drop the number first. And there are differing mentalities about whether you should offer the number first or not. But one thing about offering first is that you kind of anchor the conversation closer to your number, right? Maybe someone wants to sell a car to you for $6,000, a used car, and they didn't tell you that. They said, I don't know, what's your best offer? And you can make your best offer, and maybe you want to offer them $3,500. Well, now the negotiation is going to be a little bit closer to the $3,500 than the $6,000, right? So there's a little bit of an advantage that you gain because now you've like sort of, you put the stake in the ground, and it's a little bit on closer to your side. Okay, so it depends on the situation. So I don't want you to like use this particular anchoring technique every single time, but there are times that it can work to your advantage because you're the one offering first, and then everything is going to sort of surround your initial offer. And then being prepared for all scenarios. Okay, so I had someone recently tell me, okay, so I'm a real estate person, and I told the other side that I'm going to get 6% commission, and the other side yelled at me and said, this is ridiculous, it's too high, I can't believe you. And all of a sudden she was very taken aback, and she didn't know what to say, and she didn't feel prepared. And so what my advice was in that particular instance was to say, you should be prepared for every scenario. You should be prepared that somebody's going to get upset and be ready with a response. You should be prepared if they say, absolutely, I'll take that offer, let's do it. And you should be ready with a response. Okay, so you should think of all the different things that could possibly happen and be prepared. Otherwise, if you don't prepare for a response, what's going to happen is that they're going to do or say something. You're going to be completely taken aback because you're not preparing for that. And now it could cause conflict because you're not sure how to handle it. Okay? So that's really important. So I'm going to talk about some different situations and things that you can do for these particular situations. So asking for a promotion or a raise. So if you happen to be going into negotiations for a promotion or a raise, what you want to do is you find out what the market, do a lot of research, go online, find out what the market rate is for the job position that you want to get, right? Are you getting underpaid? Are you overpaid? Are you getting normal market rate? Okay, so you want to do that kind of research online. You can find all that information. You know, find out for what city and state that you live in. Are you getting paid what everyone else is getting paid? Okay, so bring that information to the table. You want to take an accounting of everything you have accomplished so far. So write all of it down. Think deeply about, like, when did you save the company money? How many new employees did you bring in? Did you set up any processes and procedures in this actual company? Like, what are the impacts that you've made? Did you save money for the company? And if you did, what % did you save them and what year was it? So write all those down because you want to bring that to the table and you want to be prepared. You're asking for more money or you're asking for a promotion. So you want to make sure you have a good argument for why you should be getting paid more or why you should be getting promoted. Okay. And again, have a pre-negotiation meeting. So again, like I mentioned earlier, that's when you ask them questions such as, how am I doing? How do you think I've been doing this whole year? You know, did I improve as much as you thought I would? What other things do I need to improve? You may even ask stuff like, in order to get a promotion, what are the steps that I need to take? What am I still missing? What do you need me to do? What do you need me to learn? What do you need me to accomplish? Right? These are really easy, non-confrontational questions that you can ask your boss before you even have the meeting. This is not the meeting where you have the actual negotiation. You're just saying, hey, I'm coming in and check in with you. I just want to ask you a bunch of questions. I want to ask your opinion. They will be happy to give it to you. Okay, so use that opportunity to make it totally normal to talk about these things and get information. And again, find out what is and what is not negotiable. And that way, when you go into the next meeting, the meeting where you actually negotiate, then you can bring to them, here's what the market rate is. Here's why I'm asking for a raise. Here are the things that I have accomplished so far. And here's the list. And then you can share all that. And then you can start negotiating because now you know what the negotiables are, right? So since you've asked that in a previous meeting, you can say, I would love to, you know, talk about these things. I am not, for those of you who have just hopped on, I'm not sharing my screen because apparently my video was making things choppy. So you're not seeing anything because of that. So sorry. Next scenario, buying a car or a house directly from the seller. Again, questions that you might want to ask. Why are you selling your house? Why are you selling your car? How soon do you need to sell it by? What are your plans after this? Are you buying another car? Are you moving? Are you buying another house? Are you traveling? Are you renting? Just ask a lot of questions because these questions are going to help you navigate your negotiations with them as that part of the conversation pops up, okay? But in the very beginning, you don't want to just show up and be like, here's my offer. No, talk to them, ask them questions. Even if it's an agent, you know, if it's a realtor that you're talking to, you can find out. You can also write a letter to the seller and say, hi, my name is Shikina. You know, I'm a single mom. I've got 2 kids. I'm just curious, would love to know, like, what's the history of the house? How long have you guys had it? You know, did you enjoy the school district it's in or whatever it is? Just ask lots of questions because typically if you send it to the agent, they have to pass it on to the owner. So you can kind of circumvent the realtor if you send a letter because that letter can get directly to the seller. Okay. Anything?
Alice, you start becoming choppy.
Copy again. That'll be better. Okay. Hold on. Is it still choppy right now?
Right now, you're fine. A few
Okay.
seconds ago, you were.
Okay. It could be the room I was in. So let me see. Is this any better? Because I've never had problems from this room.
Yeah, I
Can you hear
can
me
hear
okay?
you fine. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Maybe you can try sharing the screen and see how it
Okay.
goes.
All right. Okay. Hold on a second. Okay. Can you guys see?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. You can see my screen now?
Yes.
Yes.
And you can hear me okay? Okay. I'm going to
Yep.
present this to yes. All right. And then if you want to create a larger pie to begin with. So by a larger pie, what I mean is not a pie to eat, but it's a pie meaning all the different things that you can bargain with, and you can barter and you can trade. You want to think about all the different things that you can try to negotiate. And that's what you mean when you say a larger pie, okay? And you want to make an emotional connection with the person, because once you like each other, you're more likely to get along, and you want to make sure that you talk about money last, okay? And then also another thing you could do is try anchoring, which means, putting down the first price. Negotiating a job offer. For those of you who are negotiating job offers, here's a long list of things that you can possibly negotiate, not just your salary, right? Housing, moving expenses, student loan debt service, different recreational things, continuing ed, retirement, paid leave, childcare. Okay, this is a long list. So this is what I mean when I say create a larger pie. You want to think about all the different things you can actually negotiate your salary, right? Maybe you can't get the salary that you want, but they'll pay for you to go to graduate school or something like that. Okay. All right. So also negotiating with your kids. This is a really great way to practice negotiating. For those of you who have significant others or also children, it's a really great way to practice your negotiating and communication skills, because anytime there's something that's happening, you can ask a lot of questions to find out what's going on. So for instance, if you have children and they want to do something and you don't want them to, let's say you have a teenager and they want to go to a party and you don't want them to go to the party, and you start arguing about it. Instead of arguing about it, start asking questions. Why? What about that is so important for you? Why do you want to go? What makes you feel that way? And then you can maybe like set up parameters and say, what has to be true in order for you to agree to this? Are there other options which are acceptable to you? And if I can agree to this, can we set up some parameters which would make me feel more comfortable? Say like you text me when you arrive there, maybe I'm the only one that can come and pick you up, and that sort of thing, right? So you just ask a lot of questions, okay? So practice makes progress. So you will get better only if you practice. It's kind of like writing a bicycle.
Hey,
And because everyone
Alice.
acquire and everyone can get good at, but you need to practice. So there are many places you can.
Hey, Alice. We lost you.
You lost me? Oh
Yeah.
no.
Maybe you
Can you
can
hear?
the practice part start becoming
Okay.
choppy again.
Okay. So I'll just back up a little bit. Sorry guys, I don't know. I've never had this problem before, so I'm not sure why I'm having the problem today.
It happens.
So places to practice. You can practice in a store. If you want to buy a larger appliance, you can always ask the store person, the salesperson, hey, by the way, I'd like to buy this floor model. It says it's $900. I'll buy it right now if you sell it to me for $750. See what happens, you know? Just try it. Try negotiating. You can practice at a car dealership. You can practice with your children, practice at work, with your boss, with your coworkers, with your clients. You can practice with your spouse, and you can even practice with the school. Okay, so there's many, many different opportunities for you to practice negotiating, and you can start off small. You can start talking about small things, even with your spouse. You can say, look, I want to negotiate the chores that we're doing. So you want to, you know, maybe say, if you do this, I'll do this, right? So just practice and conscientiously bring up things that you're like, oh, I would like to practice. Okay. So there's some resources. I'm going to share the screen. Hang on 1 second. I want to show it. Can you see it and can you hear me?
It's not showing.
Are you able to hear me? You can't see it?
I can, yeah, we can see you. We can see your screen.
Oh, you can see, but you can't see it. Okay. So here are some really good books to read if you're interested in communicating better and getting a difference. Is by Chris Voss, and he used to be an FBI hostage negotiator for 20 years. And so he basically tells you all the negotiation tactics. Ego, Authority, Failure by Derek Gaunt, who is his business partner. It's a complimentary book to Never Split the Difference. And Ask For It is by Linda Babcock, and she talks about how to ask for promotions and a raise. And she talks about women negotiating versus men negotiating. And then there's a couple of really good Coursera courses that you can take online, and they are free. And if you want to get the certificate, I think it's like $49, but the course itself is free. So these are some really great resources that I wanted to share with you. So I wanted to open it up to questions, if you have any, or you guys are welcome to ask questions about specific scenarios that you found yourself in, and you're like, how should I answer this, or how should I ask about this, or what should I have done? I'm happy to help you guys navigate some scenarios if you have them. Anybody?
Oh, that's fun. This is kind of generic, but you know, it's like you know, there's scenarios where it's like it's not like a zero-sum game, right? But trying to like find like a middle ground to like have like a win-win scenario. Any things that you've seen that might help with that? Like it's like a I guess, you know, if I had like 5 things and they had 5 things and they kind of like finding a middle ground in there somewhere. Is there like a framing of sorts that might help with that?
Yeah. So when you say 5 things or 5 different things you're trying to negotiate, and they're trying to negotiate 5 different things, is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's really good to do in those instances, those are actually better than you only have one thing. If you're only arguing about $100 and I say the whole 100 is mine, and you say no, it's mine, it's very, very, if you have, it makes it tremendous. I want to start to negotiate the different things against you, more of item A, and I want more of item B. So then I will say, okay, Roger, I'm willing to give you more of item A if you're willing to give me more of item B that I want. See, because everyone has a different priority of importance of the different things that you're arguing about. And so you can start cross-referencing each one. For example, when I do housing, we negotiate time and money. It's a really, really effective way to negotiate, right? So if someone can't pay the rent and they have to leave, and so they say, okay, well, the landlord says, can you get out right away? And they'll say, well, you know, I can't get out right away. I'd like to get out in 6 months. And so now they're negotiating the time, but then you add the money in, saying, okay, fine. Because what the landlords sometimes do is they'll say, you owe $20,000 in back rent. If you get out in 1 month, I will waive all $20,000. You don't have to owe anything. You'll have nothing to no debt, and you can leave. And they may say, that sounds really great, but I can't. I cannot find something in 30 days. I can get out in 3 months. And then the landlord might say, okay, that's fine. If you get out in 3 months, but you still have to pay the rent, or you'll still owe half, right? So then they're going to negotiate time and money. So anytime you have more than one variable, it makes it much, much easier to actually come to a settlement agreement.
Okay. So it's like that pie concept that you mentioned.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Definitely. So you want to think about as many things as possible that you can negotiate. Because if you only have one thing that you're negotiating, it's very difficult. I found it to be the ones that I can't resolve are the ones when there's just one variable, which is just money. And it's not even about, you say 70 of the $100 is mine, and I say 60 of the $100 is mine. You say all of it is yours, and I say all of it is mine, and it usually doesn't settle whatsoever. It doesn't even settle at 50-50. Because both of us believe 100% of it belongs to us, right? Yeah. Whereas if we had an additional thing that we can negotiate, you can usually get there. So you want to think of the pie and think of as many things as possible that you can negotiate so that you can actually come to a settlement. Okay. Anything else? Yes, Naoko.
Hi, thank you. So my question is with my 19 years old daughter, and she wants to buy a motorcycle, and she's 19 years old. So we parents explained a lot of things, how dangerous and it's not practical and those, but we can't negotiate. And she got the license already, and she's getting ready to buy. And how can we not negotiate? How can we persuade? Or, I mean, I feel like no communication, no negotiation with my teenager.
So first of all, yeah, I would first talk to her about what's so important to her about that, like the things that are important, why it's so important to her. Mm-hmm. And then you want to share all the concerns you have. So you shouldn't be saying, I don't want you to get one, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. You should just say, I'm worried. I imagine that, the rate of accidents is very high, or maybe the rate of deaths out of accidents, or maybe paralysis. And obviously at that age, people kind of don't really care. They're like, I don't care, that won't happen to me. Mm-hmm. And so then after you are able to express your concerns, and after she's able to express what's important, what you probably want to do is try to come up with an agreement that addresses both what she wants, what's important to her, as well as your concerns. It could be something as simple as, okay, promise us that you will not lane split. Do you know what that means? Lane splitting? It means when a motorcycle is just driving in between two lanes, driving between the cars, going back and forth. So they're not staying in the lane. They're driving and those are the most dangerous, because you're like passing cars and you're driving in the middle of the lane, right? So you're just trying to get past all the cars. So those are the times that are the most dangerous. So maybe it's a matter of saying, hey, okay, if you ride a motorcycle, can you please agree not to lane split? Because if you do that, then it's much more dangerous than if you just stay in your lane. Because when you're going faster than the cars don't necessarily see you, and that's when they hit you. Whereas if you remain like in traffic, regular traffic, then that doesn't happen. So things like that, you can come up with ideas that will address your concerns, but still allow her the freedom to ride her motorcycle. Yeah, does that help?
Yes. But I was thinking, I mean, even if we agreed on a couple of things like lane splitting, she would say, oh yeah, sure. And she would do it anyway. So as a parent, I want to negotiate that, okay, she's not going to buy a motorcycle, own a motorcycle for now until she graduated from college.
I mean, that's like, it depends on what type of freedom she has, right? If she has the freedom to go and buy one, whether you say yes or no, then that's like not, it's not really negotiation. It's more like you saying like, period, I'm not buying you one, you're not getting to buy one. So there's not so much negotiation. You can, but if she is the type of daughter where you can negotiate with her, then you can try to figure out, hey, can you wait a few years, that sort of thing. But if she's the type of person to say, I'm not negotiating, I'm just doing it my way, then there's like not much to do. But if you both care about each other, and if she cares about you being concerned and that you're worried and it makes you very stressed out or anxious, maybe she'd be willing to wait a few years, or you can figure out some other thing, right? Some way to come to a solution that works for both of you.
Mhm.
But it takes a little bit of brainstorming. So you have to sit down and be open to, both sides need to be open to a brainstorming session, right? Where you sit down and say, okay, here are my concerns. And you ask her, like, how can you get a motorcycle and make sure you're addressing my concerns?
Mm.
What can you do? Ask your daughter, what can you do to make me worry less? What can you do to make sure that you're safe? So I don't have to stay up late worrying about a phone call from the ambulance saying my daughter is in critical condition in the hospital. What can you do for me? I want you to have the motorcycle, but I want to also feel like you're safe. How can we create a solution that works for both of us?
Mhm. That's very helpful. Thank
Great.
you.
Yes, you're very welcome. Anyone else? I hope this was helpful. I apologize for the choppiness. I don't know what happened. Maybe it was the room I was in. Sorry.
I have a question, Alice. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So, if there's like any good opportunities or chances that I'm not really sure if I should just negotiate, do you always recommend us to negotiate anyway?
You want to give me an example? Like what kind of scenario are you talking about where you're like, oh, should I negotiate or not negotiate?
Okay, so I guess before I started my business, it's like a job offer.
Okay.
So in that case, well, I try to have like second or third offers so that I can kind of play with it, like have a different chances. So can you match up with the salary? Can you match up with the vacation time and that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
So I think that was how it was. But now, since I run my business, say if I get like fundraising opportunities, investors, and then it sounds like it's good, but do I need to negotiate instead of like, oh, that sounds good? I mean, of course, I gonna check with what this person offers, but if it sounds good to me, even with the first time, do you still recommend me to negotiate anyway?
So a couple of things. I have two answers for that. If you want to practice negotiating, sure, why not? But if it falls within what like when you were preparing and you prepared what your ideal scenario is, and they came to you with your ideal offer, then there's no problem to say yes, right? It's just that what happens with a lot of women in particular, when they're getting a job for the first time, they're so happy that someone is making them an offer, they usually just say yes. And what you can ask, you don't always have to say like, oh, can you offer me more, or in ways like that. But you can say like, I would love to talk about, maybe, let's say somebody else, you can say up to, consider something a little bit more in the range of 55 to 60. Is that possible? Don't ever say, is this negotiable? But if it's something that you're like, this is great. I don't know if you guys can hear me. This is great. This is wonderful. This is just what I would like. It's my ideal. Then you can say, fabulous. I'll take it. Right. But a lot of times the way negotiation happens is whoever's on the low end, if you want 50,000, you're going to like ask for 60,000. And if they feel like they want to pay you 50, they will usually offer you 40, because both sides want to leave wiggle room to negotiate. So typically, if someone's offering you 50, they have negotiating room. They're not offering you their last offer. They're usually making you a first offer, which means there's room to negotiate up, and you have to keep that in mind all the time. So when you say yes to the first offer, you're basically taking their lower offer, their lowest. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. There's no like nothing wrong with accepting it if it's perfect for you. If you're like, that's just what I wanted, great. You know, for sure. Anybody else have some questions about communicating and getting what you want? Okay, well, thank you very much. You know, if you guys ever have a scenario where you're like, I need some help with negotiating or communicating, I'm here. So that's what I do on top of mediation is I help people try to have a conversation where they can get what they want. So I help you phrase things. I help you come up with questions that you should be asking. And I help you speak very clearly. So what you want is extremely clear to the other side.
Can you,
Okay.
thanks, Alice. Can you drop that your email address in the chat box? And also,
Sure.
if it's at all
Yeah.
possible, those resources that you listed, if it's at all possible to list them in the chat, if possible?
Yes, I think so.
That would be,
I'll do that.
thank you so much. It was a great talk.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Actually, if we have
go.
time, Sophie, I do have a question, but it's kind of
Yeah, you can ask question, Nori.
okay,
right?
my question is really for business. So I deal with projects that we deal with a lot of players in a project, and I don't have my video on just because I think it eats into my broadband here. But before in the past, we've done partnering at the session. So I just wanted to see if you had any opinion on partnering sessions.
So can you go into a little bit more detail? What are you doing with the partnering exercises?
So the exercises are really to try to bring all these different parties together. I'm in construction management, so we typically have the owner, we have an architect, we have a contractor, we have the subcontractors, etc. And we've done these, particularly on very large projects, to just make sure that, in my mind, it's really to establish the ground rules in terms of that, hey, the main objective of us getting together is to get this thing built. And make sure people don't go bankrupt doing it. But, you know, it's just sort of establishing those ground rules and getting people to, yes, not, you don't make them sign anything, but at least acknowledge, yes, that's what's important. And so, you know, leave your egos behind, you know, leave your personal or what do you call it, just your business interests behind. Make sure whatever you're asking for is something that's good for the project and is within the realms of reasonableness in terms of money that you're asking for or time that you're asking.
So are you guys setting ground rules like within the partnering exercises, or you guys, what are the specific, what is the, I guess, if you partner, and then what are you telling them to discuss within their each couple?
It's really a huge session in which everybody, you know, throws what they want out of the project onto the table, and then it's, you know, hopefully you can what do you call it, point them out to be, you know, one or three major objectives for the project itself, and at least people feel like they've had their opportunity to say what their concerns are. You know, the design is shit or whatever, you know, the schedule is way too tight or it's way too long, or, you know, there's not enough money or whatever. They can at least air that out, and then the different parties that are involved in controlling those aspects that and say, okay, yeah, you know, we can give on this or we can't give on this, etc. And it's a session to at least part of it is an emotional connection. It's a session in which you're not just talking to an email address. You know, you're seeing this person in person. You have a chance to connect emotionally with them, and then also it's an opportunity for people to express these concerns and to make sure that, okay, someone's heard you and there will be something done to help it out.
So I think, yeah, it does. I think what would be really great to move that even to a larger session is one where you have a facilitated conversation. So you would either bring on a facilitator, or you or somebody else can act as a facilitator.
Yes.
And so what you would do is have everyone in the group and set up the agenda of the different things that you want to discuss, whether it's timeline, whether it's budget, you know, on and on. And then you're going to have the facilitator make sure everyone has an equal amount of time to discuss their things. And so it's not necessarily a place where people are going to be debating, but it's a place where people can express what it is that they want or that they feel, their opinion. You just express it. And it's not, and all it is say, you've got 2 minutes, and the facilitator moves from person to person to person, giving them their 2 minutes or what have you, where they can express their concerns. And then the facilitator would say, okay, now we're going to discuss budget, and let's talk about, you know, they should give an introduction about this is what we think. And then each person again has time to like give their opinion. And that way everyone has their say-so. So everyone's voice is heard. Someone should be taking notes, so they're capturing the information from everyone, so that you can compile it. And it also an opportunity for each person to say, oh, I agree with what everyone else has been saying, and also this, right? And so it's a really good way to compile group information, because with the partnering, it's a little bit disjointed in that particular scenario where you're trying to get everyone to be heard and you want to gain all the information that people are talking about. So it's much better to do it in a facilitated conversation so that it doesn't get out of hand, and have it very, very structured.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, that's what I found also.
I do a lot of that stuff, the facilitated conversations with cities. So I've been doing it in like Redwood City, Burlingame. And so we do it between city council people who talk about, this is what we're going to do about the roads in, you know, Half Moon Bay. These are our plans. These are our construction plans. And then they tell the plans to the citizens who live in that city. Then we break out into groups of 5 or 6, and everyone has a chance to say whatever they want to say about the ideas. And they say, I don't think it's a good idea. They shouldn't do it. They're wasting money. And we capture all of that information and we pass it on. And so you can also break into smaller groups, but you want to do it based on how much time you have. And so if you have time to do it in a large group, that's great. But if you have like 100 people, you just break them into smaller groups of like 6 or 7 or 8 people. So everyone has a chance to like express themselves and still capture it. And so you would have to have a facilitator for each small group. Does that make sense?
It does make
Nori?
sense. Absolutely. Thank you.
You're welcome. I hope that helps. Anybody else? All right, that's it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Alice, for very comprehensive communication tips. Give a big hand to Alice.
Thanks, Alice.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to share the screen. Oops. Sorry. So thank you very much, Alice, for the great talk. And we are always welcoming great speakers like her, and we've been having the chefs, and we haven't had a hairstylist, but artists, and then other type of business people. So if you know anyone who can get benefited with being a speaker, please let me know. And then the next our happy hour, we're not going to meet next Friday, but we're meeting on Saturday, and it's going to be a first time that we are broadcasting from Japan. And there's a guy in Japan. He works for Hakusan Winery. He's a winemaker. So we're kind of working together, and then he's going to talk about his winery. Now we have a few more minutes, and if you have some time, then please stay with us. And Alice, do you have time to stay with us with the breakout room?
Yes.
Okay, so Alice is gonna visit your breakout room. So if you have any questions, or if you want to talk anything with a small group, small room, you may feel comfortable to talk to her. So I'm going to open up the breakout room. It's going to be about like 15 minutes or so, but depending on how many people are staying, I may have to move people around. So apologize in advance. Okay, so I'm going to open up the room. So please enjoy. Welcome back, everyone. Hope we have a good conversation.
Yes, absolutely.
Great.
Thanks for having me, Sophie. That's a lot of fun.
Great. Yeah, so Alice, thank you so much. And then I know you put a lot of your resource and then your contact. So if anyone who didn't have a chance to the copy the chat, I will send the information to you. I think I got everybody's email addresses. And then also Alice, you can reach out to the participants and then they may be hopeful to hear more about your story or your help. Great.
Awesome.
Okay, great. So it's a top of the hour, and then thank you very much for. Oh, sorry, I've been hiding. Sorry. Yeah, thank you very much for coming tonight too, and it was really great. And then thank you, Alice, for sharing all your expertise and the knowledge, and then being very helpful for us. All right. So see you next time, everybody. Have a nice weekend.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Alice. Have a good weekend, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
Alice. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you, Marco.
Thank you, Sophie, and thank you.
Mark, are you participating in Toastmasters?
Yeah, if I can get the link for it, let me see if
I can send you a link.
Thank you.
All right.
Hey, Momoko-san, good luck with the quest.
Thank you. Bye.
Want to hear all about it in New York?
It's a pleasure.
All right, we'll be looking forward.
When are you moving, Momoko? Next year, right?
Next January. I just bought a flight tickets on
Oh,
January.
wow.
Oh, wow.
It's a long way, so I need
Huh?
to find something.
All right, hopefully the border restrictions will be lifted by then.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
All righty, have a good week. See you all next
Okay.
time.
See ya.
Okay. See you. Send you a link, Mark.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Bye.